dancing abilities, I'm actually going to reach out to Scott for a lesson because he would be so much better at that than me. All right. That video about people that have failed. I just want you to know that Michael Jordan is going to have another massive failure in his future. I get the opportunity to play him in golf again this year and give him another wicked beating. This will be 3 years in a row, so he's going to be able to add to that deal. All right. So as you think about a 20-minute assignment where you'd really like to teach a concept and really benefit people's businesses, and that's kind of how I see my role today. My subject is talking about events and the cycle of escalation and how to use events in your business. So I have 20 minutes to do that. So telling my story is not really something that I get to do. That's not really part of my assignment. So I thought I'd summarize my 10 years in Subway Sandwich. And if we can start slides, that would be great. That pretty much summarizes my experience with having employees. That pretty much tells the whole story right there. And I know just how horrible that is, right? Hopefully that'll cure some of the diet issues that you have.
Wow.
I'm really glad those are taco shells and not buns, right? So that's what that looked like. For 10 years, having 100 teenage employees, I really felt like I was kind of on this journey to work for myself and have repeating income and develop a lifestyle. And what I found out is that there was a lot of information that wasn't in the brochure that I didn't know about that vehicle. And so by the time you're in the vehicle and by the time you've got the money borrowed and you're living that life and it has a certain context to it, day to day, the life wasn't what I had planned on. The potential of that vehicle was very, very different. Are you with me?
Yes.
So when I came to New Skin, I had one intention. I was a hoagie salesman. I didn't do this. I'm still a hoagie salesman. That's pretty much what I was for a decade, right? I've been doing this a long time, but it wasn't my natural environment to talk to people. Being in a people business, that wasn't my natural skill set. Probably still isn't. So that's kind of where I was. And I remember coming to a couple of things happened, and this is from the event point of view. I attended an event in Salt Lake. It was at Claris, at the little office, and I heard a couple of things that really impacted me. And that was the first event. It was the first spark. And that's what we're trying to do for people. When we give that business briefing, we're really just trying to start a spark, just kind of start the fire. It's kind of the beginning of it. So it's literally a briefing. It's a drive-by, I call it. We're going to drive by and give them as much information, realizing that they're not going to hear a whole lot. Most of the time, when we do a business briefing, people are going to remember maybe 10% of that the next morning. So the concepts need to be really clear, right? And it needs to be based in benefits. People only really respond to advantages and benefits. And that's what's going to give them enough of a spark to kind of go to the next place. Okay, so our goal with an event is to expose. Now, there's different events. Different events have different goals. So speaking to a business briefing, and we'll get into this a little bit, really we want to make sure that information has a couple of things that touch on human nature. Okay? The first is urgency. It's got to be urgent. It can't just be, we do this every week. Or I can come anytime. The information has to be more than that. It has to be more important than that, so that we can expose people to either the products or the opportunity, whichever direction we happen to be going. Okay? Then we want to involve that person at some level. Now, I think this is where the escalation of events and the cycle of events starts to get interesting. Culturally, I think we've become incredibly impatient. Do you agree with that? Mm-hmm. We want it when? Now. We want it now. I get so impatient. I just switched. I live here in Provo, and I just switched to Google Fiber. Right? We're one of the 3 cities in the country that has 1 gigabyte service. Well, what's not in their brochure is that they portion that internet service, and it makes me crazy because it has a little bit of a lag. The service I used to have, it was always on, right? And even though Google's faster, I hate that 1 second delay. I hate it. You know, and I think we've become that way because of social media and, just the way we live our life. Information comes at us so fast. And we need to live this from another person's shoes. We need to understand what's going on in their mind, not our mind. So when we expose people, we need to be careful to talk about not facts and details, but benefits, right? Benefits and the advantages that they have, whatever those advantages are. And everybody has an advantage. In their background, they have something, a skill, a language, a situation, a personality style. It's our job to point that out, right? So we're going to expose people, and then we're going to involve them. And here's where the patience comes in. Here's where escalation of events is important. If somebody gives you a name, is that involvement in your business? Yeah, it is. If they're just supportive, they're just not negative, and they don't just bash you about network marketing or MLM. They're just kind of okay with it. Is that involvement in your business? Can you blow on that spark over 16 years?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, sure you can. So if somebody uses a product, is that involvement?
Yes.
Yeah, there's tons of stories about people that start using products and then become more and more and more involved. But we want it when? Now. So what we do is we hammer people. We don't drip on them, we hammer them. Right? We just take a rhino horn and stick them on the wall and hope that they'll just, quiver there until we get through telling the story. We don't even ask questions. Am I right? Because we want to be a Ruby. When? Now. Right now, right? So how do you do that? How do you be a Ruby now? You talk to more people. Right? You find more people that are standing in a place where they can involve themselves at a higher level so that we can get it now. Because we want it now. Right? So I watch new people do this. They make a list and they start to talk to people. They talk to 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 people and nobody comes to a meeting. And they want it when?
Now.
They want it now. And they're not getting it now. Right? And then they start to go, it's always going to be the same. It's never going to change. So this is never going to work. This. And they start going, this is never going to work. This is never going to work. You understand? This business, the most important thing that you're going to learn from me today is this business is learned. Success here is learned. It's learned by sacrifice. It's learned by work. It's learned by experience. And it's learned by falling down. That's how this happens. Okay? So the more willing you are to do that stuff that I just described, the more successful you're going to be. When Wen said yesterday, when she talked, she spoke in Chinese and she talked about the winner is the last one standing, basically. That'd be the hoagie salesman translation. If you don't know what a hoagie is, okay? Sandwich salesman. That was unbelievable. It's absolutely true. You've got to stay here and let yourself learn this business and figure that out. Right? So expose, involve, upgrade are really the three big things that we do in super simple terms. So day to day, as I look at the things that I do, I'm always in one of those modes. I'm always exposing somebody, maybe a three-way call, maybe doing a BB, and we've got people, in the room, and we're exposing them to the opportunity, or we're involving them at a higher level, using more product, maybe now speaking at a meeting. Okay, so my second significant event experience happened with Scott Tillotson, who isn't in the room. And I got this call. I was new. Okay, I get this call. I don't know, a month in the business. I get this call. If you've dealt with this guy, this is a gruff creature. Okay? This is a surly person. So he calls, Bryson, Thursday night, you're doing timing. It wasn't, hey, are you coming to the meeting? We're driving back and forth to Salt Lake. That wasn't part of the thing. It wasn't, hey, how's your schedule? It was, Bryson, you're doing timing. Well, I'm so new, I don't even know what timing is. I didn't have an idea. No clue. So we had a videotape, and I started watching this videotape and taking notes. And I had all this timing stuff in my mind, and going through the news cycle, and I've got all this, anxiety. And I get to the meeting. This is at the old 90th South, in this office deal, and I give this stirring presentation right at the point of the 5-point presentation. Well, the second I was done, Scott comes and grabs me by the arm and drags me into the hall, and he says, "That isn't your story." That was my first experience speaking at a meeting. And I remember getting in the car and going, I don't know whether I can do this. That was just really brutal, right? And I thought, okay, I kind of kept going through my motions. I'm selling sandwiches. I've got all these employees, right? My life's spinning. I'm kind of interested. And I get the call the next week. Bryson, you're doing products. I got that call 5 weeks in a row, right? And then I get the call, hey, you're ready to do the 5-point presentation. And he just kind of upgraded me like that. Do I suggest that? I don't know. I don't know whether everybody will survive that. I do know that the outcome was that I started to get more confident. I started to be able to actually talk to people because in between I was preparing. So the message here is don't be afraid to give people assignments in the upgrade part. Okay? Understand people's goals. Know what it is that they want to achieve, and make sure that you involve people in your events so that they own that event. It became my event. It became my business. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, that's really what we want for you. What I want for the people that are in this room is for you to own this, to own the business, to have it be your business. Okay? So expose, involve, upgrade. Here's the event cycle. And working in System 7, in the context of System 7, this would be in the middle portion of the System 7 laid out, okay, the event cycle. Why do we use events? We use events for a lot of reasons. The biggest reason in my mind to use events is leverage. I have two choices. I started so part-time with such just a spark of hope that my life was going to change, right? And that's all I had. I didn't have a ton of time. So I had to be really, really efficient with what I had. And I think, how many people, just by show of heads, that's either where you are or where you started the business, with very, very limited time for this. Right? Pretty much, at least 2/3 of the room, right? So I had a couple hours a day, and I had to be really, really honest with that. So meetings became a place in my schedule that I was going to be there no matter what. It became an appointment. It became a center for me to use all the sifting and all the recruiting that I was doing to bring that to a culmination. Okay, so I was after the leverage of doing that event. Now, I suggest that. You've got to leverage yourself. You've got to leverage yourself to recruit. So the next step is that you're using that business briefing to sift, to see who will show up at the workshops. I couldn't afford to work with people that didn't start coming to events. I just couldn't afford it. So all of my activity daily was sifting, trying to see who would show, who would come, who would do the next thing, who would take and not filter that opportunity. Did you hear what I just said? And that's what we do. We filter the opportunity to grow. We filter, not necessarily the people in this room, but the people we're working with, they'll filter it. They'll say, well, I'll do this much, instead of do whatever it takes to get the job done. You with me? Yes. Okay, so this is a people business. So it starts with those BBs. Now, BBs, it's all about just sifting and inviting and using whatever tools are available, whether that's a conference call, whether that's a webinar, whether that's recorded material. In my case, the best thing that happened to me was a videotape. If I wouldn't have had that videotape to pass out and sift for interest, I wouldn't be standing here today. I used media because I was part-time, because I couldn't take the time to mouth the whole presentation over and over and over again. I didn't have the time. So I leveraged, and I leveraged into events. Now, the next significant event that happened was in the process of just sifting. I went from, Eileen talks about the failures. Well, I went from 0 to diamond in about 6 months, and in the next 6 months, I went straight to Ruby. It was unbelievable. We're talking rock star stuff, right? That's the way the compensation plan works, right? I really was consciously incompetent. I just was excited, and I just started recruiting people, and pancake diamond, here I was, right? Well, I remember getting an invite from Nathan, and this was my first interaction with Nathan. Nathan was traveling all over the place. I'd never met him. I was dealing with Scott on an almost daily basis, right? Being hammered into form daily, right? It's well, I get this call from Nathan. He says, hey, we're having this summit at Park City. And there's people in the room that were at that summit, aren't there? Yeah, Mark, and, I don't know, Shumi, Grace. And I spoke at that. And I don't know whether you remember that, but it was the first time I'd ever spoken to more than about 5 people. I've never been more nervous in my whole life. redneck from Provo. If you saw my first slide, the words weren't even on there right. It said 9 Subway franchise owner of. The slide wasn't even right. I'm sitting in the back waiting to come on stage and looking at that slide going, man, that doesn't make any sense. Where did I type that on? How screwed up is my mind, right? So anyway, I speak at that deal, and people kind of laughed, and they kind of enjoyed it, and I remember being in my car going, that was cool. I actually felt like people got something out of that. Maybe I can do this. It was really significant. Okay, so the message here is people are going to have significant experiences at events. And those significant events, those significant experiences that take place at our events are the glue that hold people here. So we need to remember to do that. We need to remember to have people have those experiences. It's about that. It's not about polished. It's not about perfect. It's not even about professional. It's about growth. We grow people. We're in a people business. Right? So that's what we do. So, the next event is, these regionals, and that's kind of what that was. As I look at my experience, it was kind of a regional experience. We have that opportunity coming up. We have a Dallas Leadership Conference coming up in April. I believe it's the 22nd, 23rd, or 23rd, 24th. You should be on that. Okay, now, I want to take this opportunity to talk. I'm completely out of time. So real quickly, I want to teach just one quick concept without getting too far off. When we talk about 5+, 5+ is a concept. This is how to think about this. Okay, if you have TR90 inventory, you can sell that inventory right now, can't you? If you were prepared in the LTO and you have enough inventory, then you could sell it today. If you don't have any, then you can't sell it, can you? It's gone. Okay, that's a fundamental business principle. This business is a business. So tickets, 5+ tickets are inventory. Did you hear what I just said? Yes. We're in the people business. The reason that you have 5 tickets to the next event is because you intend to have 5 new people there. It's inventory. It's just like having bottles of R2. It's just like having packages of TR90 to sell. It is a concept that is taught to people so that they fill rooms and so that they don't come here alone.